A dead park, a truck with no headlights, and 6 of us realizing too late that we weren't trespassing. We were being hunted. Watch until the end, because this story does not close, it just stops. Story 1. The Loop Hunt. It was supposed to be nothing. Just a late-night park hangout, a dumb idea to kill time, the kind of night you forget the next morning. 6 of us met up around 11 with no plan, no destination, just bored kids with cars and too much energy. We went to the overlook first, the open part of the park where you can see the city lights in the distance, and we sat on the benches talking like the world belonged to us. Then one of my friends said he had fireworks in his trunk, Roman candles. The stupid kind of thing you do when you're young and think the world is empty at night. I told him not here, because the overlook was visible, too open, too exposed, so we drove deeper into the park, to a place everyone called the Loop, a long winding road that curves into a cul-de-sac surrounded by trees, where the woods swallow sound and no houses sit close enough to care. That's what we thought. We parked outside on a nearby street just in case, and then we walked in under branches that trapped the summer heat like a lid. The quiet was heavy, the kind where you hear every footstep. Halfway down the road, I noticed cars. Not one, several. Parked in different spots around the Loop, all with their lights off, sitting there like they had been waiting long before we arrived. None of us said anything at first, because the park wasn't closed. People did come here late sometimes, couples, smokers, kids like us, but the longer we walked, the more wrong it felt. The cars weren't clustered like friends hanging out. They were spaced out like positions, like corners being covered. Someone behind me joked that it looked like a stakeout, and we laughed, because laughing is what you do when your brain doesn't want to admit the first sharp edge of fear. Then my friend, the one with the fireworks, stopped and said we should just light one off quick and leave. He pulled the Roman candle out, and the moment the first spark hissed into the air, everything changed. It wasn't the firework that scared me, it was what answered it. A truck behind us, parked near the entrance, suddenly moved. No headlights, just a dark shape rolling forward. At first I thought it was leaving, but then it turned, slow and deliberate, coming straight toward us with its lights still off. The sound of tires on gravel felt louder than it should have. We froze for half a second, trying to figure out if we were about to get yelled at by security or a cop. But no one in their right mind drives through a park at midnight with their headlights off unless they want to stay unseen. One of my friends whispered, "Run," and we did. Not sprinting yet, just moving fast into the tree line, trying to disappear. The truck stopped. Then it turned its high beams on like a weapon. The light hit us through the branches, bleaching the woods white, and the horn started. Long, angry. Not a warning beep, not an accident. A sustained blast like an animal calling the hunt open. We dropped down the slope into the woods, through brush and tall grass, stumbling over roots. The fireworks were forgotten. The laughter was gone. My lungs started burning almost immediately. Behind us, I heard doors open, voices, more than one. Flashlights cut through the trees in quick, nervous sweeps. Someone shouted something I couldn't make out, but the tone wasn't annoyed. It was excited. It was sharp, like we were prey that had moved too soon. We split without meaning to. The woods did it. The dark did it. The panic did it. I ended up with two friends, crouched low in a sunken patch under a bush thick enough to hide our bodies if we stayed still. Above us, the loop road was visible through gaps, and I saw headlights appear one by one around the cul-de-sac. Other cars waking up, engines turning over, like they had been sitting there waiting for a signal. We lay flat, dirt pressing into our cheekbones, trying not to breathe too loud. Footsteps came closer, crunching leaves. The sound of someone moving carefully, not running, hunting. A flashlight beam swept over the ground near my friend's shoes and paused. I swear it paused. My heart hammered so hard I thought the vibration would give us away. The beam shifted away, then back again, slower this time. Someone up on the road spoke, low and casual, like they were discussing where to search next. Not angry about fireworks, not angry about trespassing. Calm coordination. That was the part that made my stomach drop. This wasn't a random confrontation. It was organized. The beam drifted off. Minutes passed that felt like hours. The truck's engine idled somewhere close, a low, constant vibration. Another set of footsteps came from a different angle, trapping us between two directions. One friend beside me was shaking so hard the bush trembled. I reached out and grabbed his wrist, forcing him still. Somewhere deeper in the woods, I heard one of our other friends yell, not a scream, but a startled sound like someone had almost been grabbed. Then silence. A man's voice called out something again, and this time I heard a laugh after it. A short laugh, like amusement, like this was fun. We stayed there, pinned, until the headlights on the road suddenly shifted. The truck backed up. Another car pulled out. For a second I thought they were leaving. Relief almost broke me. Then the horn blasted again, and the high beams swung toward the entrance, not away, like they were repositioning, like they were cutting off exits. One of my friends whispered that he lost his phone. I wanted to hit him, not because it mattered, because the idea of searching for anything in that dark felt suicidal. But then we realized something worse. We hadn't seen the men who entered the woods come back out. We saw cars move. We saw lights shift. But the flashlights in the trees were still there, still searching, still inside, waiting. Eventually, the truck rolled away down the loop road. Slow, lights off again, disappearing like a shark slipping under black water. The other headlights shut down one by one, leaving the cul-de-sac dark. But we didn't move. We couldn't, because quiet does not mean safe. Quiet means listening. We stayed frozen for another long stretch, until our legs cramped and sweat dried cold on our backs. Then we crawled, not stood, crawled, using bushes as cover, moving inch by inch toward the entrance. Every twig snap sounded like a gunshot. When we finally reached the edge of the road, we saw the truck again, parked near the exit, waiting, high beams off, engine silent, just sitting there like it knew we would try to leave eventually. We slipped back into the woods, taking a wider angle, circling through thicker brush until we hit a main road beyond the loop. The moment we reached pavement, we ran like our bodies belonged to pure instinct. We didn't stop until we reached our cars. Hours later, our other friends messaged. They had escaped sooner by sprinting without hiding, straight through the trees like animals breaking cover. One of them said he saw one of the men up close. He wasn't holding a flashlight. He was holding something long and metallic that caught a glint of moonlight. A blade, maybe, or something worse. We never went back. We never called the police, because when you describe it out loud, it sounds like nothing, and that's how they win. A truck followed us. Some men searched the woods. No crime on paper. No proof in daylight. But I still think about the way those cars were parked before we even arrived. I think about how fast the truck moved when that firework sparked. Like it was a signal they were waiting for. And the worst part is this: we got out, we ran, we survived, but sometimes I wonder if it was luck. Or if they let us go because the night wasn't over yet. Because that park is still there. The loop is still there. And those cars might still be parked in the dark with their lights off, waiting for the next group of kids who think the woods are empty after midnight. If you want more stories like this, subscribe to Tales from the Dark. A child's voice inside a slide, a sentence that knows your life, and a woman waiting at your gate like she followed you without moving. Watch closely, because this one does not end where it should. Story 2. The Slide Voice. This happened when I was 13, that age where the world feels small but the night feels endless. Back then, we didn't stay inside staring at screens. We rode our bikes until the streetlights buzzed on, and we treated parks like private territory after dark, because there were no adults watching and the woods made everything feel hidden. The park was a few blocks from my house, tucked between patches of trees on 3 sides, and across the street there was more woods, so even when you were loud, it felt like nobody could hear you. That was the point. That was why we went there. That night started normal, almost boring. 6 of us were hanging out in my friend's backyard until his mom came out yelling, telling us to either shut up or leave. 3 friends went home. Me, my friend, and 1 other decided to ride to the park instead of ending the night early. It was only 5 minutes away, and riding bikes at night felt like freedom, like you were slipping through a world that belonged to you. We got there and climbed up onto the playground, the elevated part with the slide and the swing set, the place where you could sit above the ground and feel hidden. We talked for a while, laughing, throwing out dumb jokes, feeling untouchable. Then my friend stopped mid-sentence and lifted his head. He said he heard something, a footstep, a thump, something on the playground that wasn't us. We all went silent and listened. Nothing, just crickets and distant traffic. We laughed it off, told him he was paranoid, sat back down. A few minutes later it happened again. A dull sound, like something shifting weight on the metal structure. This time all 3 of us heard it. The air tightened instantly. We stood up, looking around, scanning the shadows under the swings, behind the slide, toward the tree line. Nobody, no movement. The park felt empty. We called out, asking who was there, trying to sound brave, trying to make it a joke. No answer. We settled back down, but the energy was gone. The night didn't feel playful anymore. It felt like something was waiting. Then we heard the voice. It came from inside the slide, not from outside, not from the woods. From inside the curled metal tube of the slide, like someone was crouched in there. It was a child's voice. Small, soft, too young. It said, You left your bike unlocked. My stomach turned instantly because we never heard anyone climb into that slide. The metal echoes every movement. I walked closer, slow, cautious, my skin prickling. I leaned down toward the opening and asked if someone was in there. The voice answered again, just as calm, "Your mom's waiting for you." My friend's face went pale. We looked at each other with that silent fear that passes between people when no one wants to be the first to admit it's real. I asked if they needed help. No response. Silence. For a second I thought maybe a toddler had wandered out here and gotten stuck somehow, but my brain was desperate for logic. I climbed up and slid down through the tube, expecting to collide with a kid any second. But when I reached the bottom, it was empty, completely empty. No child, no movement, nothing. But the metal where a child would have sat was warm. And there was a smell, like baby powder and wet grass, that hadn't been there before. My friends climbed down fast, searching under the structure, looking around the playground, checking behind benches. Nobody. It was impossible for someone to disappear that fast, especially a child. Then it happened again. The same voice, from inside the slide. Clearer this time. "I saw you looking." That was it. 3 words. Like it knew we'd been watching the dark. Like it had been watching us longer. We didn't talk. We didn't argue. We ran for our bikes and pedaled like our lives depended on it. The cold night air burned my lungs. We didn't stop until we reached my backyard. We were trying to explain it away, talking over each other, saying maybe someone was messing with us, maybe a prank. Then there was a knock at the backyard gate. 3 slow knocks. Not a random bump. A deliberate knock, like someone asking to be let in. We froze. I whispered, "Who is it?" My voice cracking. A woman answered, "Hello." The same word, the same flat, calm tone. Then she asked if we had been at the park. My skin went cold. My friend answered for me, too fast, too sharp, saying no. The woman asked again, "Are you sure?" I stepped closer and peered through the narrow crack. She was already looking directly through it, her face pressed close enough that she must have known exactly where to stand. She was middle-aged, eyes wide, unblinking, and she was smiling. Not friendly, not normal. Her hand rested on the gate latch like she knew how to open it from the outside. She said, "Okay, thanks anyway," but she didn't leave. She stayed there, smiling, staring through the crack. We backed away and went inside without another word. That night my friends slept over because nobody wanted to walk home. In the morning, everything looked normal. The park down the block looked harmless in daylight. We didn't go back for a long time. People tried to explain it away. A lost kid, a mother searching. But it doesn't fit. We rode home too fast. We never saw a child. And that woman was already waiting at my gate like she knew exactly where we would run. Story 3. The Hood on the Bench. I never thought a normal walk in the park could turn into one of the scariest nights of my life. I lived in a small suburban town, the kind where everyone thinks it is safe to be outside at any time, the kind of place where danger feels like something that happens somewhere else. It was a Friday night in the summer, and I had just finished a late shift at work. I wanted to clear my head before going home, so I walked to the local park a few blocks from my apartment. It was quiet when I entered, almost too quiet. The sun had been down for about an hour, and the streetlights inside the park were on, but the walking path still felt shadowed under the trees. The air smelled like freshly cut grass, and for a few minutes it actually felt peaceful. I had my headphones in, music low, just enough to keep me company. At first, everything was normal. A couple of people were walking dogs in the distance. Two teenagers laughed softly near a bench, and it felt ordinary, like the park was doing what it always did. Then I noticed the man. He was sitting on a bench not far from the path, wearing a hoodie with the hood pulled up, even though it was not cold. He was not doing anything in particular, not looking at his phone, not smoking, not shifting, just sitting there, perfectly still. I told myself it was nothing. People sit on benches, people wear hoodies. But as I passed, I realized he was looking at me. Not glancing, not curious, watching. His head did not move, but I could feel his eyes locked on me, like he had been waiting for something to enter his space. My stomach tightened, so I picked up my pace and kept walking. A minute later, I heard footsteps behind me. I stopped, and the footsteps stopped. I stood still long enough to make it awkward, then continued walking. The footsteps started again immediately, matching my pace exactly. That was the first moment I felt real unease, because it was too deliberate, too controlled, like someone was testing how aware I was. I tried to calm down, chalked it up to exhaustion, but the sound stayed the same distance behind me, like an invisible tether. I decided to take a different path, one that cut through a smaller section of the park with fewer lights. I told myself I was just going home faster. That was the lie. The truth was, I wanted to see if he would follow. When I turned onto the trail, I glanced back. The man from the bench had stood up. He was walking in the same direction, slow, smooth. Not rushing, not jogging, just moving like it was inevitable that he would stay behind me. My heart started beating harder. I pulled my phone out and pretended to make a call, holding it to my ear, hoping the act alone would scare him off. He did not react. He did not slow. He did not turn away. It was like he did not care who knew. I started walking faster, and he matched it. I broke into a light jog, and he did the same, keeping the exact same distance. My mind raced. Why was he following? Was he dangerous? Should I run back the way I came? I saw the street exit ahead, the edge of the park where the neighborhood lights began again, and relief hit me like oxygen. I broke into a run. The footsteps behind me sped up instantly, perfectly synchronized, closer now, heavier. I did not look back. I just ran. When I reached the street, I stopped hard, chest burning, and forced myself to turn. The man had stopped at the edge of the park, standing just inside the shadows of the trees. He did not come out under the streetlight. He just watched from the darkness like the boundary itself mattered, like he could not cross it yet. I stood there, trembling, waiting for him to do something. He did nothing. No wave, no words, just stillness. Then I turned and ran home. I thought that would be the end. I told myself it was probably just a creepy guy. Maybe harmless, maybe homeless, maybe mentally unwell. I tried to bury it under rational explanations, but the feeling did not leave. The park did not feel neutral anymore. Nights passed, and I kept replaying the sound of those footsteps. I kept seeing that hood in my mind, that stillness, that patience. A few nights later, I went back during the day, trying to prove to myself that fear was in my head. Sunlight filtered through the trees, families were in the distance, normal life everywhere. I started to relax, until I reached the bench. It was empty, but carved into the wood, deep and jagged like it had been done in anger, were two words: I know. My stomach dropped so fast it felt like falling. I stared at it until my vision blurred. Sawdust still clung to the edges. It was fresh. Then I noticed something else. Tucked into the crack of the bench, almost hidden, was a small black stone, smooth, cold, and painted on it, in red, was a single dot. I did not pick it up. I took a photo and walked away quickly. That night, when I got home, I emptied my jacket pockets before washing it, because my hands were shaking and I did not know why. And that is when I found another stone. Identical. Same size, same smooth surface, same red dot. I froze. I had not touched the bench. I had not gone near it. I stood in my kitchen staring at that stone like it was a message. After that, I avoided the park at night completely. But the worst part was not the bench. The worst part was the feeling that someone knew I had been there, that someone had noticed me noticing them. I started seeing small things in the neighborhood, shadows across the street that vanished when I looked directly, a car parked too long down the block, the sense of presence just outside my vision, like the world had gained an extra observer. 2 weeks later, early evening, I walked past the edge of the park without going in. I told myself I was safe because I stayed on the main road. Then I saw him, a figure standing just inside the tree line, barely visible, same height, same build, hood up again. He did not move, he did not step forward. He just stood there like an object placed on purpose, like a marker. My instincts screamed at me to run, so I did. I got into my car, locked the doors, drove away, checking the mirror over and over. I never saw him again in the park, but sometimes late at night, when I am walking home, I still hear footsteps far behind me. Not close enough to prove, not far enough to ignore. And I understand something now. The park was never the scary part. The scary part is knowing someone can choose you, follow you, watch you, and leave nothing behind except the feeling that they are still out there, waiting for the next time you think you are alone. And sometimes, when I check my pockets, I wonder what I will find next. They say parks are public, but after these nights, I know the truth. Some places don't belong to everyone. They belong to someone. The loop didn't just surround us, it watched. The slide didn't echo, it answered. The bench didn't wait, it chose. And that's the real horror. It's not that danger exists. It's that it already knows your name, and it's been waiting for you to walk into its territory. If you felt that chill, if any of these stories made you check your locks, glance over your shoulder, or question the quiet, don't look away. Subscribe to Tales from the Dark, because the next story isn't about a park. It's about the moment you realize your own street has been watching you too. And trust me, you'll want to hear it before you turn the lights off tonight.